Everybody's asking, what's the ISHI? What's the ISHI? What's the ISHI?
ISHI, well, I don't really know.
Let me think about this again.
ISHI connects us. That's about all I know.
ISHI is a kind of a collaborative game.
It seems like some sort of research project to help us get better connected to each other.
Driving people to get up, move around, interact.
It's been working, it seems like. Yeah, there's been a lot of people I've met that I never would have met otherwise. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. There's been questions asked, so they're going somewhere. I don't know.
Rather than developing a narrative to embed in these buildings, we decided that we would create a mechanic, an experience, and a game that would create culture from the people in these buildings. Because ultimately, while we think that we want other people's stories, the stories that matter to people most are the ones that they create themselves and tell themselves and can tell other people.
Microsoft has a long history of trying out new ideas on its own employees. We call it dog fooding. We believe we should eat our own dog food. And one of the ways that we do this is by testing our own software. And we've been using games to test software for more than 10 years now.
The incoming generation of whether it's Microsoft or any employee is coming from a background of gaming and social networking and digital technology. And so it would be natural then for those tools and techniques to evolve into the workplace as well.
We wanted our mechanics to focus on collaboration and communication, and we wanted there to be a low barrier of entry, and yet the game to feel rich, nuanced, and more complex as you went on. So the main mechanics that we focused on were connections, breakthroughs, and bolts. The connections mechanic was driven by the goal of getting people out of their seats. They would go as individuals to these kiosks or stations that we put across the two buildings. They would swipe their employee badge and potentially answer a few questions about themselves.
Whenever I would get up and take a break to go get a drink, I would just make a loop through my floor.
We would actually usually do like 2 stations, because if you go to get coffee, which, we would normally do every day, us and some other guys from the team at the kitchen, there was 2 stations at.
I just planned a route. If I went to the bathroom or I went to get a drink or whatever, I would just purposely pass an ISHI station.
Once a team had accrued enough connections, the next mechanic came in, which was the breakthrough mechanic. A breakthrough is a challenge that everybody on the team receives and must complete together in order for their team to level up and move on. These breakthroughs started out as very simple tasks. Say, just need 1 player at a specific station in order to level up. But as the game progressed, they became more complex over time. They needed people at different stations at the exact same time, across buildings, 2 people at both stations in different buildings at the same time. Then they would have to start answering questions about their fellow teammates. Then they would have to find hidden objects in the buildings. Then they would have to start making media together. Are you guys on the challenge?
Yes. Okay, wait. Okay, so I don't know what who's calling me?
Did you guys get the challenge?
Yeah, we finally got it.
Our final mechanic was bolts. With connections and breakthroughs, ultimately people didn't really have any reason to think about other teams or the game at large. Bolts were ways that a team could interact with another team, either positively or negatively at their choosing. But did you play a bolt?
I did play a bolt. I played several bolts. I think 2 bolts today.
And what were those bolts?
That was the 1 bolt, and then the other bolt I played was a barrier. Just now I actually played a bolt to block the Edisons.
One of our big initiatives in creating this was to really foster collaboration and communication between people in these buildings, even if they don't know each other.
I noticed structurally we're changing our communication style and interacting differently. Certainly, initially, we didn't even have to be a team. We could just be individuals doing tasks, but that quickly changed.
I think I got to know the coworkers in my room better, and I actually socialized with them, whereas I did not before.
One of the things is having a friend at work is one of the best ways to sort of retain people. And so making these connections in sort of a whimsical, fun sort of way really can help the health of the organization and help with retention and just overall morale.
A lot of teams get siloed and when they're supposed to be working together, and so if you have had this kind of interaction in a game setting with somebody, then you actually have to work with them. It's going to be a different initial meeting.
And ISHI's been great because it's sort of subtly connected people who would not normally be connected. And so now people from different disciplines and different teams who may or may not work together regularly now have a different connections.
We found some interesting patterns across both weeks that as the week went on, we would get more and more players and more connections throughout the week, which I thought was really fascinating, that people who didn't necessarily have the initial call to play would see their teammates achieving things and would receive messages or emails asking them to play, and finally would come out and would begin playing.
With ISHI, we're trying to lay the foundation of a new form of new employee orientation.
And I wish we could do it all the time, because it's something that you're doing that breaks up the day a little bit and gets people to interact. And
so the opportunities for doing something like ISHI here at Microsoft are actually pretty tremendous. Not only is there a lot of amazing hardware literally embedded in the walls, but I found a lot of people very receptive to the whole idea and experiment.
We wanted to encourage employees to create their own culture and do things not because they're getting some points or an achievement, but because it's meaningful to them in a more intrinsic way.
The challenge of running a game in the workplace is that it is a place of work, and whatever you do can't get in the way of that.
If management was like on board, I think I would play. I like games.
You know, if you're playing a first-person shooter game and, you know, you're trying to get the new weapon or level up to a new suit of armor, you know, it's akin to, okay, I'm doing my job to get to the next level or to get to the next title or to get to the next role. And so integrating some of those and taking what we learn in digital games and applying it to the workplace can only help with engagement.
Cool.
Well, okay. Well,
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
This is fun.